Welcome back, and thank you again for joining us on the slide. This podcast seeks to normalize important discussions that are required for our community centered around topics such as education, economics, politics, and justice. However, before we can try to create a ship or a vessel that'll get us across these controversial seas, we have to lay a foundation. It is absolutely an honor and a privilege to be joined today by my co-host, Mrs. Christina Sylvia, the regional director with Team Nitro, SEAL Team MMA. Thank you for joining us again today. Christina, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Well, so what we seek to do here is kind of introduce individuals to new leaders, talk about programs and ideas, things that we can do in order to be able to better the environment. For those individuals who will be meeting you for the first time via our podcast, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your role as regional director?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Christina Sylvia. I grew up outside of Boston, Massachusetts. I've been in Jacksonville 15 years now. And I went to school at Boston College. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in human development and a minor in English, which you'll see kind of transcend my work throughout the years. Professionally, I've done training and development has been kind of my wheelhouse, operations management. And over the last 10 years, I have worked on and off with Team Nitro MMA SEAL Team, where we offer martial arts to the youth, but in a really cool, innovative way where we blend martial arts and mentorship. So my cousin, actually, who is the founder, we have developed a great working relationship where he's been kind of the face of this thing, and I've been a bit of the brain for a while, and have really started to come into myself in developing the off the mat activity and really kind of honing in on that social, emotional, academic kind of leadership activities, the enrichment in our program. So I manage one of our sites where we run an after school program and summer camp. And then we have other sites throughout the city that we'll do contracts with, where we'll come in and bring our services to students as well. And we're just looking to kind of expand that, go into different counties, different states, kind of bring this type of programming to youth because it's a full body experience.
Yes, ma'am. I'm biased, right? So whenever I have opportunity to be around someone from Team Nitro, SEAL Team MMA, I'm just biased, right?
Yeah.
I've had opportunity to visit with the program, participate in various aspects of the program, and I just think that what you all do for children is something that should be duplicated. Really, really not duplicated. What I think y'all should do, I think everybody should contact Miss Christina or Dr. Nashawn Nix, and y'all should figure out how to enter into collaboration or partnership because what they're bringing to children is just next world, next level. The coming world is what I see when I'm around your program. However, what I didn't know is that you have a Boston College education with a degree in human development.
I
What is
do.
human development?
Human development, very simply, is the psychology of people. And it's why I've found a liking and have taught love languages, right? It's just really understanding that the human nature, right, is different. People are different. I studied culture, community change, right? How different communities function, how people function in different communities. It's really about understanding the people side of things. And so people all ask me, you have animals. I'm like, I'm a human type of person. I like to connect with people that connect with me. A relationship building is my thing.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So now, relative to the program, the the program that you have develops particular traits inside of the children. Talk to us about the process of getting a child in and helping them to lay a foundation to develop the skills that will be required to be successful in SEAL Team MMA.
Yeah, so right now our largest student base is at Impact Christian Academy. We serve about 160 students. We regularly see anywhere from 70 to 100 a day, and we provide after-school services. When they enroll in our program, we get a variety of different students from different economic backgrounds, different cultures. They even play different sports, right? So they just come from different disciplines. But what we try to do is give them an experience where they'll learn the disciplines behind martial arts. But for even someone that's not interested in doing that professionally, the they're able to experience the growth right through those types of disciplines, and we call it secondary learning. So if you don't even if you're not on the mat, you can sit off the mat and still learn the same lesson, right? So we do a lot of that social emotional work. We help them dive into who they are, who are they becoming, right? What do they see in themselves? And Dr. Nick says it all the time. When kids are in school for 7 hours a day, they're listening to the teacher speak. When they come into after school, our job is to give them a platform to have those conversations, to lead those conversations, and for them to use and express their voice. And so we find ways to create experiences that allow them to do that in a safe space. Sometimes we facilitate hard conversations with them. But it's just a way to get them to look inside, because a lot of the times we put them in a box and we want them to perform a certain way. And every student, every person, just like every adult, we're just different. And we cannot meet these kids at the same place and think that we're going to get the same results for each of them. They need some type of opportunity to have an individual experience. And so we try to create that through everything that we do.
And I happen to know that there's so many components to the program. So a child that is a member of the SEAL team is being exposed to entrepreneurs and masters in their field, and so many different thought group leader type individuals. Those experiences, I just can't even wait for the next 10
Yeah.
years to see the return on that level of an investment. But why mixed martial arts? Why lay a mixed martial arts base for the children? What is the benefit of that?
Outside of the physical benefits, right? Because you're strength building, you're talking coordination. There's safety benefits, right? You're teaching these kids how to defend themselves in a situation that they may find themselves in. We all may one day. And I think having that level of discipline, having that ability creates a level of confidence, right? It builds a level of self-esteem. We build communication, the ways that we need to talk off the mat, on the mat, right? Being able to build respect. Our thing is everything begins and ends with respect. They do that on the mat. They show respect. They pound it out before they spar. They pound it out after they spar, because it's not about winning. It's about learning. And that's the type of environment that we create.
Yes, and I've witnessed it myself, and I just think that it's absolutely beautiful. I have a very, very close member of my family that was bullied into the commission of a heinous crime. And I really believe that if he would have had an opportunity to experience a program like yours in the um, in the um, in the cataclysmic nature of what he experienced, I think he would have been a little bit better prepared in order to be able to deal with those decision sets that he would have had to make in that intense moment, because trouble come quick and it happened in an instant. So you kind of need some things, muscle memory or embedded in your thinking in order to be able to give you the ability to do that. I believe that y'all do that with Team Nitro, SEAL Team, MMA. What's the process though? What is the course for you all? What do you see a child starts? Where do you anticipate them going through your program?
Um, because we offer so much, can see that play out in a number of different ways, right? Because of some of the training that would prepare students to be able to go into the military, right? We have a track that kind of that they could follow that, and be able to easily kind of blend into that environment because they're used to that level of discipline and instruction, right? We're building entrepreneurs, right? The same way we brought you in, your brother, to talk about what y'all do and to give these students real tangible, things that they could leave with, people that they can reach out to, the people that they can connect with, see in their community doing these things, right? And we hope to build entrepreneurs. So we're looking at building the next round of business owners. The next round of educators. We have things in place that allow students to lead, whether it's a lesson on the mat. Just the other day, we had students to cover an entire class, because our instructor had an unfortunate accident. But we prepared them for that. So it was an easy way to pivot to say, all right, now it's time for y'all to lead because this is something that, we've pushed them, towards. So we're building leaders, right? We're building entrepreneurs. We're building the next set of educators, the next set of our military personnel. It's not just, go to MMA so you can become a fighter. That's a part of it. But that's just a skill that you're going to build, that you're going to be able to perform. But the work that you're going to do to get that skill it's going to build so much more. It's going to open so many more opportunities.
Yes, ma'am. Because we live in a world right now where our children at a very, very high rate are being bullied, right? And bullying is a real thing. And when I think about it, when I came through school, even though it was present, it wasn't prevalent,
Yeah.
right? Because no one really cared about a person conducting themselves like that. You go back out there and fight them again. Like you just got to go out there and go develop the fight in the individual. But sometimes when you got an individual or a child, and that child has brilliance and fear, it's difficult in order for them to feel confident enough to be able to protect themselves or to handle those type of interactions with children that are more dominant. How does SEAL team prepare them for those situations in order to be able to kind of protect themselves as they navigate in a difficult environment?
It's funny the world we live in right now because I think social media heightens it a lot, right? It gives these kids a lot of access to things that they can compare now, right? And so your threshold is a little bit higher of who you need to be, what you need to do, what you need to have because of what they see. There's a lot more that you can even bully, right? It's a lot easier. I can just go online and shoot your DM. No one has to see that. I don't have to face you, right? So these kids are getting bullied in different ways now that we didn't experience, coming up. And it's a sad thing to see because kind of in my studies of human development, right, what you find is that people aren't just intrinsically bad. No, people aren't just walking around and they just want to be terrible people. Now, are there terrible people in this world? Absolutely, right? But my theory would be that there's something that's gone on that's triggered that. That's somebody that lacks the tools, the experience, the knowledge, right, to deal with things in a more productive manner. Doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person. They're a troubled person that does bad, right? And I think that we give our students the opportunity to explore, right, what that looks like and how not to, or how to overcome, right, these triggers, because we all get triggered. And I tell students all the time is a person typically bullies you because they're looking for attention. It's an internal thing, right? When they're saying this about you, it's because they've either experienced that in the past or they're dealing with something and don't know how to process that. And so they're triggered in ways that come out, like this. I had a student that said, and I was talking to him the other day, and I asked him, have you been bullied in the past? And he was honest, that he had. And I said, I can tell, right, because of the way that you move and the way that you allow people to trigger you, and everything becomes an emotional response because someone looked at me wrong, someone said this, right? But you're making this person pay for an experience that you had some years ago. So that look might have been innocent, right? But because your experience in the past may have been that they weren't so innocent, right? Everybody has to pay for that now. And so it's helping them talk through like what that looks like. Sometimes they don't even realize that they're doing it. Sometimes, these students, they show up, they go to school, they go home, they do their homework, they eat their dinner, right? And then they play a game and they're right back to, do it all over again. It becomes monotonous, the same way that adult lives become monotonous, right? And we have to do something positive and productive to keep ourselves in spaces where we're positive and productive in our community. And I think that students are the same way. And if we're not giving them opportunities to fight it out, right, then they're going to do that somewhere. And so we have a unique opportunity to explore, a very human nature thing, right? We want to push on each other, get out of my way or do this, right? There's ways that you can do that, but I'm like, is that how we curate friends, right? Like, let's do this in a way where we can hone this in and learn something from it, not just because we're play fighting, right? It's because we're exercising this energy that we want to get out, but it's in a way that develops a skill. Let's do that, right? You want to roughhouse each other, that's fine. Let's do that on a mat, right? In a safe environment, because you just want to get that energy out. You just want to duke it out with someone. Sometimes you come with conflict, right? And you want to express that in a way. We allow them to do that in ways that really solve the problem and not just mask it. And I think that bullying, that going back at each other, it's the masking of it that ends up contributing to who they end up becoming in society. And we really try to focus on the let's stop that now. Let's get you to figure out the why you're doing this now. Why does that trigger you, right? Because a lot of them are being triggered because of traumas that are happening in the moment. And as you kind of grow, you start to realize that sometimes you don't catch those traumas till later when you're working it out in therapy. And then you're realizing that, oh, those are the things that stem from when I was in middle school, when I was in high school. And I want them to realize it's happening now. And so you have the chance now to change the trajectory of your life if you focus on the who I am in these moments, because the people around you, they're not going to change, right? And you shouldn't expect them to. The people around you are going to be the people around you, but you're going to need to figure out how to navigate on your own as an individual, and not holding your expectations up to somebody else. And once you find that level of confidence, there is no way that you can bully me.
Right. And we start with respect and we end with respect. But what also I observe with your program is it starts with a lesson and it ends with some understanding.
Yeah.
Right? Beautifully curated programs of mentors and mentees learning and growing together. What can be done? What can a person who is viewing this podcast, what can we do in order to be able to support your program or add greater value? How can we help Team Nitro, SEAL Team MMA grow?
I think I can break that down into 2 words: community and resources. Become part of our community, right? What that means is you may want to come in and speak to the kids. You may want to come in and do an activity with them. Being able to volunteer and show them that there are other people in this world that care about you, I think is important, because then they become aware of the bigger picture and not just their bubble. When you see some random person from your community, there's a chance you could see them in the grocery store and they remember you, right? Or they could be a manager at a job that you're trying to get in a couple years and they remember because you came from this program. So just tapping in that community, becoming part of our community and really supporting these kids means showing up for them. So that's one way that you can help, is to show up for these kids, right? If you really want to be involved and you really want to mentor, we have an opportunity, and we have 160 of them that could use it, right? And another way is provide resources. The work that we do is glorious in production, right? It's not always glorious in pay, right? Some of these things and the audience that we're supporting, they need the resources more than ever. So the way that we have the greatest impact is by alleviating the stresses of having to pay for these types of services, right? That could come at a really high price tag for what we're offering, right? And so how we do that is the community shows up and we get resources. We've had parents donate Xbox, right? So students can play. We've had parents, donate supplies. We do birthday celebrations every month, and, just getting a cake for the kids, to celebrate a birthday. They love it. I mean, you would be amazed to know how big of a smile it puts on a kid's face just, to sing happy birthday, because we take it for granted, but not every kid has experienced that. I've met adults that say they've never had a party. So I can't assume that the kids that I support, right, aren't those kids that are going to become adults and say that same story. But if you're in our program, you're not going to say that, right? We've celebrated you on the month that you were born. And just little things like that are ways that you can tap in, right? Providing resources, whether that's donating, whether that, is just if you have a bakery, you want to give us donuts for the day because, for the celebration or whatever. Those are ways that you can tap in and assist us. Telling your local council people, right, that you want programs like this. Get us in front of them, because once you see what we do, you hear what we do, we have real examples that we can show you. It's hard to deny the work that we do and the impact that it can have. So allowing us to kind of broaden that reach would be great as well in terms of the way that you could partner with us, right? To bring us into schools and communities, and put us in front of the right people.
And that's important. You know, we all imagine this beautiful world, and I want to say it was Dr. Martin Luther King who said, "With little black boys and little black girls and little white boys and little white girls, and everybody hold hands." Right? We all talk about this utopia, right? However, how do you bring it into existence? It is not going to come into existence based on the last 460 or 500 years worth of activity in this nation. A lot of the things in this nation are founded in atrocities. However, in the midst of all of that, we see a beautiful thing occurring in the city of Jacksonville, Florida, and that is Team Nitro, SEAL Team MMA. To see the children receiving instruction, executing on the requests that are being made of them, and then watching them execute with autonomy, leading, guiding, directing, correcting. So many different things going on within inside of the framework of this program. If your heart can be so moved to provide um, a resource, financial support, whatever you can do in order to be able to help programs such as this grow. And I don't want to alienate anybody who has an idea to create a program that will benefit our community. However, what I will say is that if what is driving you is a desire for wealth, right, then I'm going to ask you to just hold on for a second and then connect with an individual like Miss Christina or Dr. Nashawn Nix, because when we talking about our children, what can't be driving you is some money. If that's what's driving you, got to find something else to do, because that's gonna come. That's innate. That's inherent in the process. You're gonna get paid. That ain't what we talking about. What we talking about is developing children that will have the opportunity to become adults. That will have the opportunity to become adults, because it's a lot of children right now that we're watching leave early. They're exiting through penitentiaries and cemeteries, and it's ridiculous to have to lose our children when we have programs such as yours that will attend to the needs of our community. So thank you for what you do every single day, because it is definitely needed for the advancement of our human species.
Yeah.
if you would. And I don't want to sound so big and crazy, right? But basically that's what y'all doing. Y'all
Yeah.
building human beings for tomorrow.
Hmm.
And that's what we need as a community. So thank you for what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just want to say the theme that made you bring me here when we talked about it is every month we kind of focus on a different theme, and that kind of drives the activities that we do. With the martial arts, we have kind of mantras, the affirmations. Every week is a different affirmation, kind of means a different thing, and it all builds in this overall theme. And so we talked about what the theme was this month, and it was the becoming the legacy, right?
Yeah,
and
that's hot.
and that's really all it is when you read biographies, when you see these documentaries and you see these successful people, it's always a story of who they were when they were in middle school, right? You always hear a teacher in high school, oh, this boy was dribbling a ball in the middle of the class, right? They see those passions, they see that, they tell these stories. And so what I want these kids to realize is you're building a legacy right now. Like you are the legacy. And I've always lived by this mantra, life is legacy. I believe that we only live here to build a legacy, right? And no one's going to remember us beyond that. And so it's this idea of what's your story, right? What story are we going to tell about you? You're going to be the kid, that we've always had to talk to and always into it with people. And not to say that that can't turn into success, right? But if you talk to anyone that had that path and ended up in a successful position, I promise you they're not going to tell you to go that route, right? They're gonna tell you to avoid that, to do what I'm asking you to do, right? Which is to do the work, and do the work now, so that, like I said before we started this, I don't have to get ready if I stay ready.
Come on now. That's right. All day. So if you know a community leader, tag them, share them, bring them into this conversation. If you know somebody with a resource or have a desire to share a resource with Team Nitro's program, like, share, click, add them in the comments, so that way we can connect those individuals with the resources, with the processes and the programs that allow us to be able to make our community better. The first time I walked into Joshua Christian Academy, I thought about two educators, Cat Roberts and Tyrone O'Neill. I met them when I was in the seventh grade, 1987, Miami Carol City Middle School. Cat Roberts was the chorus director, teacher, piano lab teacher, and she made a song. And in that song, the mantra, if you would, was "Yes, I can." And that the whole entire song, "Yes, I can," and "Yes, I will." Right. And so thank you, Ms. Roberts, for that. Tyrone O'Neill said to us, a group of 11 and 12-year-olds, when we came in there, we wouldn't do he was our band instructor. And whenever we went and practice something, Tyrone O'Neill would say, excuses are the tools of incompetence, which build monuments into nothing. And those who specialize in excuses seldom succeed at anything. I appreciate him for telling me that when I was 11, even though I didn't understand what he was saying until I turned 40 years old. Right, I'm grateful that he laid that foundation for me at 11 years old. So when I'm in the Team Nitro environment, and you say everything begins and ends with what? Respect. What's the greatest nation? The imagination. With discipline, dreams are developed, and without discipline, dreams are destroyed. To me, that is profound, and I look forward to the trees that will grow from those seeds. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. Thank you for what you do. Do you have anything going on right now, or is there anything that you would like to share us that we can do immediately in order to be able to help Team Nitro? Any programs or anything coming up that we need to be aware of?
So right now, we are planning and gearing up to do our kind of end of the year showcase, where we allow students to come and show what they've been working on throughout the year. Typically, it's been really focused on that MMA piece, and allowing to show their skills and roll a little bit. You know, they get a little competitive, but we've done so much in growing the program beyond the mat, that it'll look a little different. We'll get to see kind of the work that students have done off the mat. But that's a great way to kind of help us and support that mission to get that done. Whether that's, like I said, kind of resources to help us facilitate all the work that goes into having an event like that, coming in, speaking to the students and just being a presence. Sometimes just being in the audience and cheering them on, honestly, is enough, right? Because when they're doing this in front of 200 people, that's something that they'll always remember, and it's something that they'll always kind of go back to, right? That time I got to roll in front of 200 community members and somebody recognizing you. I seen you that day, and right. So getting plugged in with us as we help build out these end of the year events would be a great way to support us at this point. And as we gear up into the summer program, field trips. So a business that is doing something and you want our students to come and check it out. We want to show them what's right in their backyard. There's so much in Jacksonville, so many good people that are doing great things. And I don't know everybody. So tapping in with us and helping us, plan out what our summer looks like and what we're going to do to build these kids this summer is kind of the main focus right now.
Yes, ma'am. Jacksonville, in my mind, top city is the juice. So let's connect with those programs and let's do those things that are necessary in order to be able to get the resources where they need to go. Now, to parents who had an opportunity or having an opportunity, grandparents that are having an opportunity to watch this particular recording, what I will say to you is this. When I was as a parent, I wanted to do everything that I could in order to be able to protect my children and equip them with the resources that they needed to be successful. I realized that at some point I was going to have to send my children to a school that was in the low socioeconomic demographic, was a little tougher in the city that I was in as a result of my military service. And I was very, very concerned about my son because he's a scholar. Right, light-skinned kid with glasses. I was really, really concerned about what his high school experience was going to be like, sending him to this school that was in our city, supposedly the bad school. So I made that joker join the wrestling team, and I let him dump people on their neck. Science shows that the incidents of bullying are minimized when your kid can kick a little ass. So with that being said, hey, y'all already know how we do. You can run and you can glide, but you cannot hide when you're where? On the slide. So continue to slide with us and let's help Team Nitro MMA accomplish their overall mission, which is building human beings for the future. Thank you for joining us again. I look forward to spending time with y'all in the future. It's been a blessing. Y'all stay blessed. Be easy.